We're in the cloud. Okay. So we've talked a lot about, we're trying to follow the seasons. We're kind of jumping all over, but we're trying to capture the seasons with this class. And we just kind of went for a lot of topics. So we want to kind of finish talking about the winter, kidneys, adrenals, hormones, longevity, anti-aging, bladder health, right? So there's a couple of theory things related to adaptogens and restoration that we're just going to throw in real quick. I want to make sure we cover this. So we have all of our theory. It's like thousands of pieces of theory. A couple of theory things we want to know. I'm going to make sure I spell this right because I don't write Latin every day except for botany. Make sure this.
Is that an Medicatrix?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Vis Medicatrix Naturae. I mean, that's my guess. Yeah, it's funny. I know somebody that speaks Latin and teaches it in a university, and I'll ask him off. I'll often ask him stuff. He's taught for like 40 years, and he'll always go, "Oh, sounds pretty good to me." Like it seems like there's maybe some debatability how some words are still pronounced or things. So I'm like, no, really, you gotta like tell me how is this? I mean, really, that sounds pretty good. Okay. So this is the idea. The translate says the body is self-healing. The body's self-healing capability. The body is self-healing.
What?
Healing. Mm-hmm. 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 So the body has the natural ability to heal itself, right? This is, we all know this or assume this, but I just wanted to throw it out in this section because when do we need to remember this? I mean, we all kind of know this. When does the rest of the world need to remember this? Yeah.
They're really sick. They can't find the answers. You can train your brain to heal. You just have to remind.
Yes, this is really important to remind ourselves when we're struggling or trying to dig out of a hole of like health problems, or when clients, family members are facing major medical challenges and feel like they're not getting better or they can't get better, right? This is like, sometimes this is called the promise of nature, right? Our body has the intrinsic ability to heal. This is unconscious, right? We don't have to even think about this or believe it, right? I mean, you just ask a surgeon how real this is, right? I mean, when they do surgery, like amazing things happen and the body heals, and there's no instruction manual you have to read for your intestinal, sutures to heal and everything to heal, right? Your C-section scar, it just heals on its own, right? You just have to have the raw materials, right? Sometimes. So this is a really important thing to remember. It's easy to forget this. It's also easy to buy into a lot of fear mongering, right? Like what we call the exclusive club, right? Like, oh, you can't heal without this drug, or you can't heal without my amazing wisdom or somebody expert opinion, right? This is made to empower people to remember that ultimately their body heals. This happens more than people think. Every second this is going on, right? Why are we talking about it right now, though, in this section related to energy, vitality, the kidneys, adrenals, hormones? Why?
This is supposed to be our quiet rejuvenation time, and we don't use it that way in our culture.
Yeah, part of it is winter is supposed to be our time to hibernate. So our body can do these self-healing mechanisms, like when a bear hibernates. We still don't know how bears hibernate. It's still a medical mystery. I mean, we have theories and some people talk like they know, but if you really talk to like, bear experts, nobody knows how that actually works, right? In fact, the kidneys of bears have been long studied because their kidneys basically completely shut down, but they don't die. So they've been studied by people, medical people trying to understand the kidneys and kidney transplants and all kinds of applications. Because, like, how does that work? I don't know. That's amazing.
That's like
Right?
koi fish when the water freezes over, like here.
Yeah.
They'll go down the bottom and they're just.
Yeah.
Dead, but they'll go right back up.
Yeah, turtles and all that stuff, right? Everything can survive.
This Latin quote kind of relates to how we can use adaptogens.
Yeah. That was the next part was trying to get to. Why we're talking about it now is because the stronger are what we call our kidneys or adrenals, the more balanced our hormones are, the more that this system will click. So everybody has this ability. It's happening every second, right? Every second you have millions of cells that are dying and being regenerated. And it's amazing we're alive, right? But as we get stronger and healthier, this part of us activates or picks up even more and more strength as we age. This ability, this is like how the aging process works, right? We lose a little bit of this ability or efficiency. So this is also relates very much to rejuvenating ourselves because that's how we're going to build this back up. So really, the more balanced your energy and vitality, and like we talked about last week, the Jing or the Qi of the body, like in Chinese medicine, we would kind of reduce it further that Qi is this energy of the body, is the matrix, right? That's why, we call it the elixir. It's the elixir that can do all kinds of things. So another way of saying this is that if we can really restore our body to the point where we're relatively don't have many symptoms and our energy and vitality is really growing and peaking out, then this just really turns on like fire. Like it just really gets activated and all kinds of things start to happen with rejuvenation. So the rejuvenation process we talked about the last couple of weeks really hit home with this. So it's important to remember.
Based on belief.
What's that?
What you're saying is it's based on belief. And you believe this, and therefore you can help manifest.
Well, I mean, I think that the way we think probably definitely does affect it. But no, I'm saying that it's just innate. It's there, but the stronger our body is, like the better it functions, the more efficiently. But I do also think that positive thinking changes our body and also most definitely helps us too. Yeah.
Can I say a little
Yeah.
thing I just saw?
Mm-hmm.
There was a study in Germany about these unfortunate rats, and
Mm-hmm.
they put the rats in the water and had them just keep swimming and swimming and swimming. And eventually they cut it out, and then they tried it again. And then they removed the rat out of the water, let him rest, rejuvenate, put him back in the water. And the rat was able to go for 60 hours because the rat thought that eventually someone would save them. So the
Yeah.
whole mindset issue,
Mm-hmm.
just the idea that they're going to be saved, so their body just can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's
Yeah.
power also in this.
Yeah. This is also why, this kind of ties in with the next philosophy that, you know, all healing requires nature, truly. So when I think about this a lot too, I think about how medications, even though they can have benefits, they still have targeted negative effects. Those negative effects are always affecting our body's intelligence in different ways. So we have to kind of keep that in mind. I think I've talked about this a lot, that, natural medicine, not only in America, but in Europe and Asia now even too, is becoming more and more non-natural. Like we're starting to use all kinds of synthetically derived chemicals and compounds and supplements that are really, really no different than a drug. And people don't even remember things like, beets and food and vitamin C and just really basic things, and start going to these, expensive, one reason this is happening is because of marketing, because companies want to sell something exclusive that's processed that you can't find in nature, because that's very exclusive and elusive, and you pay a lot more for it, or people will. But I want everybody to remember that, because it's really herbal medicines, because they are part of nature, are actually working with our body's intelligence instead of against it. This is also one way that natural medicine is different from Western medicines, just because the tools we use in our profession are from nature. So they actually work with the intelligence of the body, as long as we have the right one, right? Where medications are always, in some degree, working against that intelligence. Not saying that they're not necessary. I'm just saying they're working against that intelligence. It's just a fact because they have side effects. So,
I think a big point you've made on all this was the fact that herbs can provide a sense of healing to the body that medications can't. In other words, like it can't fix moist and dry constitutions, it can't cool or heat up specific tissues, which plants are able to do. Solve more systematically the
Yeah.
actual sickness.
This is also sometimes why, like, instead of sometimes over treating something, just doing things that are not what I call sexy anymore, like they're not on TikTok, like just meditating and getting quiet. It's not as cool as buying some new biofeedback, goggles. And I mean, really, like we all get hooked. I get hooked into it sometimes too, right? About like this infrared skin thing. It's somewhat natural, but not truly natural. But I mean, we all kind of get hooked into this gadget idea and thing, and we have to remember that it's have to ask ourselves, is this working with the body's intelligence or against it? This is also why you hear Western medical people say, well, yes, this drug, it goes in and it tricks the body. They'll say that word specifically, or it tricks the immune system or the cancer cell. Not saying that it doesn't work, but you really can't trick the body forever. Eventually, it's going to figure it out. So, okay, that's why a lot of cancer drugs start working over time, because the body so intelligent, it's eventually going to figure it out, or the cancer cell has some degree of, some degree of ability to figure that out over time. Okay, everybody's okay with that? Good. You all knew that already, right? But it's kind of nice to have it drawn out. I just want you to connect rejuvenation with really activating this part of ourselves. Okay. Especially if we're feeling in the hole, if you're really feeling like you're stuck, you have disease processes, and the tools you're trying, or the medications, or the herbal approach, and everything's not working. We have to be able to just step outside ourselves. I've had to do this myself in my life many times. I just had to step outside, say, okay, back to the basics, right? What am I doing or not doing that's not stimulating my inherent ability to restore or heal or self-correct, right? The newer genetic information on epigenetics is just actually reconfirming this more, right? That we have the ability through diet, lifestyle changes that we can turn genes on and off and expressions of genes on and off, and it's amazing. So I think science is really reaffirming this. I don't think it's really reaffirmed in the practice of medicine in America, but a lot of the science is there to support it too. So
But it doesn't make money.
it does not make money to tell people that either, right? It really doesn't. That's, everybody wants to marry, natural and Western medicine. They just fundamentally can never be merged because they're just foundationally different on all levels. I'm not saying they can't be cohesive, but they can't be like made into one system because they're just fundamentally, in theory, completely different.
Patience too, but the way the world is like, fix now, you want results.
Mhm.
Right. It's a slow, yeah, this is a slow process.
Yeah.
Attention, too many paying attention, like, a little bit better idea.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Yeah.
things happen.
That's a good point, is sometimes we get tricked into the way drugs or medications make us feel, right? Like an energy drink or something. But, when we're talking about real deeper healing, it can be slower, takes the body time to, reverse 47 years of, you know, dietary stress, different things. It just takes a while to do this, right? We have to be a little patient about it.
I've been trying to ask you this, like, if there was a formula of herbs that you could shine a light on for us as a daily intake that would somehow help us with the vitality of our life or elonging our life, what could we take on?
We've already started to, that's the adaptogens,
Almost.
the rejuvenation. That's like probably the number one thing to just keep treating yourself with and keep restoring and restoring. Yeah, that's why we keep kind of coming back to it here lately. So, but think about all healing requires nature, when you're doing a lot of processed supplements, I mean, you just kind of have to think about that. Okay. Another topic that relates to this a lot that's important, especially for parents, grandparents, it's called 18 to 300. What the heck does that mean? So 18 to 300. So this is the idea that the first 18 years of your life determine the next 300. So we know, especially, I mean, in the world of nutrition and nutrient deficiencies, that most all diseases that people are going to get later in life, in some degree or shape, have been triggered by things that started the first 18 years of life. It's a very long, slow process, but a lot of that is put into play. A lot of that is because the body is maturing, growing, and until you reach like your peak growth, like everything, any deficiency of nutrients can send a ripple effect later in life and make a lot of every nutrient, being deficient makes just hundreds of diseases more probable later in life. So just think about smoking early in life or chewing tobacco and alcohol and all those things. Like, it really does influence. So I always tell people, as a parent, it's okay to stress out the first 18 years of your children's life, to do your best to just, behavior, lifestyle, nutrition, meditation, happiness, joy, like the more we can do, just even the first 18 years, if we can really catch it, like go off, leave the home, you can kind of at least be assured knowing that they're starting off on the right foot. This is also where life gets kind of depressing sometimes, because people that, whether it's financially don't have access to food, healthcare, stressful homes, trauma in childhood, and all these things, like it really, when people come to see us and they ask, why am I sick? I mean, this is really why, right? Because so many things influence us during development, and they're just put in motion so early. So this shouldn't depress us though, but I mean, it is kind of sad for people that don't have this knowledge, or even knowing just about basic nutrition ideas, nutrition things. That's why I'm a huge fan of every child taking a multivitamin mineral till they're over 18. I just think it's such an easy insurance policy. There's so many studies that show so many preventative effects. It's just, yeah.
The brain treatment for children.
There's a lot of different ones out there we can talk about.
Natural, something like that.
Yeah. It just depends on how geeky you want to get about it. Like if you want truly food-based or somewhat food-based, or just like a regular vitamin or mineral, we can talk about all of them. We'll cover vitamins and minerals. Just think of all the times, like every Tylenol dose, every antibiotic dose, how that affects the developing gut. We know from microbiome studies that every time you take an antibiotic, it shows up in your microbiome every day moving forward the rest of your life, as far as we know it.
What, say that again, anytime you've taken an antibiotic, it stays in your body the rest of your life.
The mark of it can be read in your microbiome for the rest of your life. Right? They've been studying the microbiome pretty intensely the last 10 years. So as far as we know right now, that even every single antibiotic dose or trauma to our intestine from like a food poisoning, it can be read in the microbiome for moving forward indefinitely. That made us think about that. I'm not trying to scare everybody, but I mean, it's crazy that the body remembers, has a memory of it, right? There's enough science where it can be read now. So
is that why they say don't, now you can't really overprescribe antibiotics because your body will no longer be able to.
No, they're saying that because they don't want you getting used to it and it losing its effectiveness.
So is that the?
yeah, that would be different than like a habituation or not working later in life. This would just be the idea that it creates like we've been talking about, a scar or lesion or some kind of effect on your good bacteria that it doesn't necessarily totally resolve.
But that's not something that
I mean,
doctors know or take serious.
Yeah. A lot of these microbiome tests are not considered like medical diagnosis, but they're fascinating. Yeah.
So I think they say that, this is kind of weird to say, but like only the DNA that makes us up, it's only 10% our own. The rest of it has a lot to do with the microbiome and the things that live on it.
Sure.
And so antibiotics kill bacteria. And so they can also kill the bacteria that's in your gut.
Yeah.
And the bacteria in the gut, especially if that starts from birth,
Yeah.
develops kind of an evenness. You know, they some eat others and everything else, and it becomes very it adjusts to itself. And so when you take an antibiotic, if it's indiscriminate, it can destroy some of the bacteria in your gut. And then that allows other ones that bacteria has been actually keeping in check by eating them to proliferate. So that's why when you take an antibiotic, you can have very long-term change in your microbiome.
Yeah.
So yes, antibiotics can really help you when you need them, but they're not without a price.
Yeah. I always tell people with acne, like, just don't do antibiotics the rest of your life. Like, let's try something natural first. Like, really give it a go, because that's just so, for something like acne that's potentially so damaging long term to somebody's health. Yeah, what we're kind of learning, I mean, the microbiome is still like outer space. It's like still a new frontier we just know so little about. Um, it appears that we all have our own, just like we have our own DNA, we have our own microbiome profile that could potentially act like a fingerprint when we figure out, like, just on your skin, unique to you even. So when you take an antibiotic, you're killing you. Truly, if you think about it that way, you're killing. Not saying also that it's not necessary. Like, I've had to do antibiotics in my life before, but it just makes you think about this idea of
That's one
the
of the
first
reasons why
18
people-
years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The direct relationship, you'll notice that my husband has such a strong immune system, I'll catch everything. Perhaps maybe when we were kids, I was given all the antibiotics.
Yeah.
He was just shoved off to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do, I think that.
Yeah. I had a small town doctor that just gave everybody antibiotics, and it made everybody happy, but I mean, it wasn't probably a very good thing. Yeah. Also gave a lot of pain pills out too. It was nice to go see. I think he eventually got in trouble, even way back when. Yeah.
Chemistry. They're taking one constitution of herb,
Mhm.
of the plant and using it. When I was getting ready, I was thinking, even the opium flower probably would have been better for you than taking any of these pain meds. That were
Mhm.
given.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be addictive and all that, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be less problematic.
Yeah. Mhm.
and
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we really, we always tell like children or families, like, if just the more we can reduce stress the first 18 years, you know, trying to not do hormones when kids are younger, trying to really put that off as long as possible, trying to teach them to reduce stress and all these things. I mean, these are all, it just creates such a ripple effect. So, and we know now that, like, disease and things like that, they are passed on through our genetics, kind of like we talk about in natural medicine, to the next generation. So that's why they say 300 years, because I mean, your children's, children, your grandchildren are all being affected by what's happening to your children. So it's just, yeah, I mean, you can get almost obsessive about it too, but whatever we can do to minimize stress and create emotional balance. And that's why I think counseling is great for kids, and diet and lifestyle and sports and exercise and just all that stuff, right? Yeah. So I'm so excited. Little Rory, she started having her moon time, her period, and she has no symptoms. It's like, that's kind of like historically how it would be for most people. Just, it's a good sign of like nutrition and life. We're just, she gets a little tired, obviously, and a little bit of a cramp, she'll say, like the first day, like slight, but it's just a really good sign. As a parent, I'm really excited to hear that. Yeah. Also why I also get very stressed about my kids, and I give my kids flaxseed oil every day. It's one of the most important things you can do, is give your kids omega-3 fatty acids for their developing brain and nervous system, and it helps prevent so many diseases later in life too. And a multivitamin, I think that's like for every child or college student ever. What's that? Cod liver oil? Yeah, that would be like a type of omega-3. Or you could do fish oil, but flaxseed's just more gentle on the stomach. But they would all be good. Any of them would be good.
Do you just give them a twist?
I give them the smoothie one we have. You want to get that? It's a special, it's candy. The kids think it's candy, so to this day. So I'm going with it. I don't give it to them every day, but once or twice a week, make sure they get it. So,
I don't, especially the ages of my kids are very picky, and I'm
yeah.
very conscious of.
Yeah, this is picky adult and kid friendly. This is Barlean's. This is their flaxseed oil. And then they somehow make it taste delicious. Like this does taste like candy. It's, yeah, I'll pass it around. This is what I kind of try to have all kids do. It's also good for ADD and ADHD of children, skin conditions, hair conditions, hormones, everything. So one of the easiest things you can do for your health. That cooking will destroy the omega-3s.
Thank you for sharing.
That's the only problem with it. So I think this is why a lot of other cultures do a lot of good things here too. Like, I know a lot of people from India who do the Abhyanga. They massage their children every day with hot sesame oil from head to toe. A lot of Chinese and Asian, do massage on children every day, massage their abdomen every day, do the scrapings. There's so many other things other cultures do a much better job of than we do. So just something to think about. So also think about it from your own inventory. Like what were the first 18 years of your life? Mine were pretty rough, Started drinking when I was 12, alcohol pretty serious. So I think about that a lot, like that was pretty intense.
What about that alcohol? And now that you mentioned licorice, you didn't say anything about alcohol damage for the liver. Would that also? be good
Licorice
for-
is good for alcohol damage to the liver. Yeah. So what do you think about the first 18? You've heard that or thought of it before? When I did my nutrition, a lot of my nutrition training, this was really emphasized a lot. Like we looked at like, so many nutrient deficiencies are time sensitive. Like if you don't have enough D or calcium or zinc, that can affect how tall you're going to get easily. It can just stop your bone growth. It determines often how many cavities you're going to have later in life, all those things. So, I mean, it's so amazing when you look at it.
Probably by breast milk came back and.
Yeah, that's why I always tell every mom, even if you can't pump yourself because of some complication, like do the breast bank, just get the kid breast milk at least like 3 months. Try to go 3 months, the very least. So, what was that?
There have been a lot of studies on traumatic events happening to you
Yeah.
before the age of 18, and especially in the US, they're called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And the more of them a child has had, the more likely they are to grow up and develop heart disease and
Yeah,
diabetes,
exactly.
obesity and all
There's
these
a
things.
lot
Yeah.
of things that they, kids are resilient, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like.
Right, and it's even like,
That's adults
being
making
the
them
product of
into
divorce,
babies.
which is,
Yeah.
50% of this country or more, so.
Yeah.
All of those things have an effect, but once you're above one or two of those, you're in pretty big trouble.
Yeah.
Nadine Burke, Dr. Nadine
Yeah.
Burke is the Jamaican woman who did all these studies in the US who
Yeah.
found all this out on the West Coast.
So any kind of, physical trauma or emotional trauma children have, we want to try to resolve it as much as we can and support it, right?
Food, can you use chia seeds or?
Yeah, you can do chia and hemp. I mean, you can get your omega-3s from the diet. Just with kids, it's just, not very likely, or, my oldest is 11 and we're already like in some activity every night. And it's like, okay, we're going to eat this, but now we're going to go home and antidote it, or you're going to at least get your multivitamin mineral or some kind of nutritional shakes and smoothies are a great way to just hide all kinds of healthy stuff. So,
Yeah, because I'm struggling with, picky eating.
Yeah.
And all make us great food. But
Yeah.
doesn't-
and energy drink consumption in kids. I mean, we had pop when I was a kid, but the energy drink consumption of kids is very concerning.
They can also also been exposed to a lot of toxins.
Yeah.
And so what do you do for that first
Mhm.
18 in terms
Yep.
of?
So the first 18, we talked about that some and we'll talk about it more in liver cleansing. We don't really cleanse a lot with kids unless there is some serious signs or symptoms or exposure, but things like milk thistle seed are just always safe to do for children long term too.
You periodically just give them some, or?
You can do short term, just usually go more gentle cleansing. Things like nettle leaf and just milk thistle seed and beets, and some of it's just diet related too. But yeah, sometimes we have to do that for children. Okay. Mhm.
There's a big pushback on Paxlovid because a lot of doctors think that the side effects can't justify the use of the drug.
Mhm.
Let's say you had somebody that just got over COVID, and they were debating about it, the doctor gave them prescriptions that they could fill in, in 1 year.
Mhm.
There's sort of a general approach you take because there's lots of people coming out of COVID right now.
What was the question though
But
with that?
it's a substitute instead of Paxlovid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of formulas and herbs that have a lot of degree of effectiveness for acute, for infections and um yeah,
So
it's
you-
the same
you can
things we've
create a
talked
compound.
about. Yeah, I don't know that much about Paxlovid or don't know that much about the side effects. I know it's given pretty freely. Seems to be somewhat well tolerated for most people, but I don't know. I don't know what the actual concerns are
Yeah,
long
there
term.
was a lot of news out this week about how usage is way down because practitioners aren't prescribing it.
If they
Yeah.
don't get money for it, it's cheap and it's been available forever.
Okay.
It's a health industrial complex at its finest.
It's not like
It's not it's been around forever. It's easy to get, it's already over the counter, there are no more patents, there's no money to be made.
Oh, really? I thought it was
Yeah,
like
so
a-
no lobby is gonna push it, it's not gonna get pushed to doctors' offices. There's just no money behind it, the research is done.
Now, like, every purple is.
Interesting.
now we're gonna drop some more wisdom on you. Okay. So the next, oh yeah. Yeah.